Do you feel that in your relationship that you are the one who is always giving to the other? Do you feel like every time your partner wants to go to dinner, you go where they want to go, or you vacation where he wants to go? You always allow your partner to keep the temperature in your home at a certain temperature, yet you might be freezing your ass off or sweating to death. But because you so desperately want to be loved, and accepted by your partner, you just acquiesce, you just give in, and you please and you abandon yourself every time. If this sounds familiar to you, in this week's episode, you will want to listen to Dr. Heather Browne, a psychotherapist for 27 years, and I have a conversation about the what it looks like to have a healthy relationship versus unhealthy, and if you identify with the unhealthy patterns, Heather shares lots of wisdom from her book that just came out and from her practice as a therapist on what you can do to heal and grow and hold on to yourself. Welcome to the Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists podcast. I am Kim Gross, your host, and it is my mission to help you unmask from people pleasing and perfectionistic behaviors so that you can finally have the confidence to live the life that you truly desire. Let's tune in to this week's episode. Today, I have with me Dr. Heather Browne, and we have a juicy conversation for you. So, buckle up and get ready for this ride. But before I start in, I'm going to share a quote that was shared by Heather because I always start with a quote. And the quote is: communication is a love letter. Compassion is the bridge. And that is by Dr. Heather Browne. So let's just start by having you introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
I'm so honored to be here, and I've so enjoyed all our interactions so far. So thank you, Kim. I'm Dr. Heather Browne. I've been a psychotherapist for 27 years. My specialty is communication
Mm.
and relationship and connection and intimacy. And then I also work a lot with grief and loss. I just had a book come out. You see it in the background, Speaking with the Heart. And it's transforming your relationship and your communication with compassion and connection. Because to me, that is the absolute key to changing the way we are together as human beings, to change the way we are within ourselves and the
Mm.
communication that we have within ourselves, and to be better in the world. And so I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much. I want to start right with that then, because, oh my goodness, having compassion for myself as a recovering perfectionist has been key. It's been the antidote to my healing. It's been the balm to my soul because I can go to that place of putting so much pressure on myself. Do
Well,
more.
love always is the answer. It
Exactly.
always is the answer. And it's what we always want. We're always
Yes.
wanting to be loved. And most
Yeah.
times we're wanting to love.
Mm.
And if you think about it, you're going to have more communication with yourself than anybody else in your entire
Yes.
life. So,
Yes.
what is the essence of the communication that's going on inside your head? And what are you listening to? And every time that ugly, mean, harsh, angry voice pops up, you do have a choice to receive
Mm.
it differently. Thank you. Yes, I didn't do that correctly. This is going to help me learn and grow, and I'm going to take care of myself when I do it. Wherever we're hurting, wherever we're feeling wronged, wherever we're beating ourselves up, wherever we're ashamed or embarrassed, We need love. And so when
Yeah.
you become aware of that, it can be so much easier just to say, okay, okay, little Heather, okay, little Kim,
Yes.
let me just take care of you so that you can grow beyond how you've been. But do that.
We don't do it and we're not taught that either, right?
No,
We're not
not at
taught
all.
I didn't have the information that I know now about this when my kids were little. So I wasn't even equipped when they were little to teach them, to show them, to model for them that it's okay that you didn't get the grade you wanted. It's okay that you didn't get invited to the birthday party. You're still beautiful and lovable and worthy because just because you didn't get invited to that party. I didn't have that language. I didn't
Yeah.
have that understanding when they were little.
And
And I
it's okay that you're hurting.
and it's
It's okay that
okay.
you're mad.
Yes.
Yeah, that you don't understand. Remember when maybe about 5 years ago, I said to my kids, gosh, I wish I knew what I knew now when you were
Mm,
kids. I wouldn't have done what you did when you were babies. And I was a great mom. But they said,
yeah.
what do you mean? I said, when you would cry and scream, I would pick you up and I'd be like, it's okay. Shh, 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 shh.
Mm,
It's okay. And they're like, well, mom, what would you have done? I said, I wish I just had picked you up and just said, oh my God, you're so mad. Get
yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
Oh, little one. Share it. Get it out. Free yourself. I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
From baby, we start telling the child, baby,
Yeah.
what you're feeling is not what you're feeling.
It's not okay.
It's not okay. And it always
Yeah.
comes down to because we're not okay with the person not being okay. And so
Exactly.
we try to take it away. You're not feeling that way. That's not what you mean. That's not right. Don't be like that. And then in socialization, we're so pruned for other people must approve of you. You
Yes.
have to be liked.
AKA people pleaser.
I was told as a child everyone needed to like you. And so there was a girl, bless her heart, who didn't like me. I have no idea why. I will never know why. I look back now and now I understand why she didn't later on because I approached her like 5 times saying, I don't understand what I've done. I don't
Mm.
understand why you don't like me. What can I do? This poor girl just didn't want anything to do with me. But I was told, be nice, be friendly. So I was like the setup for the bully. Tell me what to do for you to love me. Let me hit you again. Oh
Yeah,
no, why do you still hate me? But my mom and dad didn't realize they were creating that. That was the mind frame. And
exactly.
no, everyone doesn't need to like you at all. Just I don't really love everybody deeply and want them in my life. Hopefully I'm
Yeah,
respectful and kind, but there's certain people that I don't choose to be around. And so I wish I had known that. If I had known that, I wouldn't have let go of me and made the other more important. And for us beautiful people pleasers
yes,
and not so beautiful people pleasers, that's what we do. You are more important than me. Your view of me defines my success and value in this world. Ah,
I know. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's pause there for a second. So you're beautifully identifying people pleasing tendencies and characteristics. And I love that because this is masks off for people pleasers and perfectionists. And I want to tie back into what we were saying about the compassion piece and your quote, which I'm going to read it again. Communication is a love letter. Compassion is the bridge. We just talked about compassion for the self and just how to come in and just be gentle and kind and loving and open and warm with that little one inside of us that's hurting and having a hard time. So now you and I, before we started recording, we were talking about the narcissist and how, and this is just generalizations for anyone who's listening. We're not saying every narcissist has to go with a people pleaser with a narcissist, but generally speaking, that's how it tends to end up.
often.
How in God's name does a people pleaser, when they experience and struggle with everything you just said a few minutes ago, where they just really abandon themselves, They self-abandon so that the other, the narcissist in this example, loves them. How are they supposed to be freaking compassionate when oftentimes a narcissist can be so freaking judgmental and critical? Tell us, Dr. Heather, how?
You have to question if you're going to be in that relationship also. Because
Okay.
just because someone wants to be in a relationship with you doesn't mean it's healthy for you. So I'm going to leave that for people's individual care.
Yeah.
There is a place, but this is someone who's really pretty evolved in their own awareness. If you look at yourself as that sweet little 3-year-old, 5-year-old who just wants to be loved, the narcissist is too. And when you look at them as, wow, you really didn't learn how to truly love yourself because you were lifted up as you're like so amazing and so incredible, and everyone is here to serve you. You didn't really learn how to love. And I feel and I would not express this to them,
Yep.
but I feel so sorry that your experience is that you don't really receive. And what you give has all sorts of strings attached.
Mm.
So a people pleaser, the longer they actually work on their own self-love, on their own self-compassion, it can be actually a very interesting relationship, and you can make it work. But the key is to know that the narcissist view is still going to be about them. And it's not going to be like, I'm here to really try to make you happy. And I'm really here to love you. And what can I do for you in the people pleaser stance? It's going to be like, I'm important and you are to focus me, and you are here to make me happy. So the people pleaser would need to separate the two.
Mm.
Like at moments I do, at moments I come through for you and you think I'm amazing and you think I'm incredible. And oh my God, I love those moments because you were lifting me up to the sky and I'm amazing and I'm incredible and how beautiful that is. And it feels really inflated and I'm being love bombed and that's really fun. And I also know the roller coaster is going to go down. And when it goes down, you're probably not going to view me well. And you're going to probably make everything my fault. And you're probably going to beat me up. And I need to protect myself. Just like the people pleaser puts themselves at risk to need their partner, whether it's narcissist or not, to need their partner to validate them, to prove their worth. When that's happening for them, they feel good, they feel puffed up, they
Yeah.
feel like now they're no longer abandoned because somebody else has validated them. The flip is you're at risk. And so there's that part that's very important for you to recognize. You can't be completely defined by somebody else because everyone's going to have a different definition of you. And it also depends upon how you are and who you are in that moment. I'm not always really sweet and kind.
Yeah.
Often, not always. Not
Exactly.
always.
So let's say for the person who has the people pleasing tendencies, becomes aware, does a lot of inner work, a lot of healing, is coming more into wholeness so that he or she doesn't have to show up in that way of validate me, puff me up, and is starting to assert oneself more and more because that's another area of growth is now okay in the relationship. Yeah, you know what? I'm coming into wholeness. So my wants, my needs, my desires are important as well in this relationship. Before it was very one sided. It was all about what you wanted, all about what you needed. I forsake myself all the time. That other person, whether it's a narcissist or not, still is used to getting what he or she wants all the time and maybe really struggling to relinquish that control. So let me just give an example. Let's just say going out to dinner. Let's just say in the relationship, the couple, the one is used to always picking and deciding where to go to dinner, wants to go to seafood all the time. I'm used to saying, okay, we'll go wherever you want to go. I don't want seafood. I don't even like seafood. I want to go for Italian, let's say. How do you balance the scale? You don't want to tip it to the other direction Where then the people pleasers always, okay, I have to get my way all the time because I freaking for years let you do what you wanted to do. So how do you balance that out?
There's some really important conversations to have because for the
Mm,
person who's always been able to have their way and you've just gone along with whatever they said, they feel like they're losing now.
mm,
They do because they got
yep.
to have seafood every single time and they loved having seafood every single time.
Mm,
So there's a place to have a conversation and to say, I don't know with how I'm changing if you're going to still want to be with me. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I would hope that you would. But I've realized for me that I'm no longer okay just saying yes to everything that you want. There's times where I need to have a voice as well. And before I used to just say yes to you. And so you thought that's what I wanted. So we were the perfect couple because I was just the yes girl, yes boy. But I'm finding my own voice. And I'm hoping you don't see that as me being against you because I really am not choosing that at all. I'm just choosing to have my own voice. And I have a feeling this is going to be hard because it's really hard for me to do this also. But I don't feel it's right for me to pretend that this is okay for me any longer. So we're probably going to need some help doing
mm.
this differently.
We're going to need Dr. Heather.
Yeah, we're probably going to need some help to do this differently and to walk through this where you're not angry and upset with me that I'm changing. And I really need to be aware that I have changed.
Mm,
And I'm going to continue to. And I realize you might not want to be with me. And that scares me, but I'm not willing to keep abandoning myself. And so that they're going to say, okay, so give me an example. I hate seafood. I actually love seafood, but I hate seafood. So I know it's your favorite. So I want you to be able to have what you want, but I don't want to go to a restaurant that only has seafood. I want to go to a restaurant that also has steak or also has pasta or also has salad. There also is the place of, I'm not going to hold you back from what you love, but I'm also not going to keep myself from what I love. So there's ways where it doesn't have to all be engaged, but it's really hard for the person who has heard whatever you want. I just want you to be happy to
yeah.
now hear, I want to be happy too. And so it's very important to extend a lot of compassion for them and to hold on to the compassion for you because you're changing the game. It's like a couple
Yeah.
that got married and let's say the man says he doesn't want children and the woman says great because I don't either. And then 3 years in they realized I have to be a father.
Mm,
You've changed a very important component of life. And it's important to not just go to the place of, if you loved me, you would do it my way. Because I can say, if you love me, you would do it mine. There's the place of, can we still make this work?
yeah.
Is it okay for me to have different desires than you? Or do you really need somebody who just says yes to you all the time? Because in that
Yeah.
case, get a dog or find another people pleaser
Yeah.
who's not at that place. Because you're right, people pleasing is actually self-abandonment. 100%. And that's why it hurts so badly. And we feel
Yes.
so lost and so empty and so devalued because we have abandoned ourselves. And we can be angry at the other person. I'm just going to put the finger back on me.
Yeah.
I chose that. Whatever you want is fine. I just want you to be happy. I have uttered those words thousands of times. But that is me saying what I think, what I feel, what I want is not important. And so when you start to realize that is not okay,
Yeah.
there's a huge power shift. And it's a tough one. I had a couple I worked
Yeah.
with, happened 100%. She was highly anxious. And so he took care of everything. And that made her feel so safe, so protected. And then 15 years into the marriage, she started to work on herself and she started to feel somewhat capable and somewhat strong. And it was horrible for him because she started to have all these different desires and wishes. And he viewed it as she was fighting him. She all
Yes.
of a sudden didn't love him. And it was not that. It was that she wasn't lying to him. And
Yes.
she also wasn't lying to herself. And we got them through, and they are amazing.
Mm,
Part of what happens when you're in a relationship that is so misbalanced in power, if the person who is the people pleaser or the yes person starts to become stronger within
mm,
themselves,
yep.
it is partially, not in spite of, it is partially because that other person has helped them feel safe enough to do that. It is the most beautiful gift to be able to say to that person that, because it's going to come with a sting following. But you have helped me feel safer within myself. You have helped me realize it's okay for me to want to be happy within myself. You have given me this most amazing opportunity to actually, like, start to realize my own feelings. And that's because you have been here in such a constant, and I have been with you. And now I'm starting to see that we can also be separate. But I really need to realize that I wouldn't be in this place if it wasn't for you. So I'm not going to fight you here. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to put you down here. And I'm not going to blame you here. And I'm not going to punish you here. And I hope to God you don't with me. I'm going to thank you. And I'm hoping, I'm really hoping that you will want to love me as you are.
What I'm getting from everything you're saying is what, again, right back to your quote, which I'm sure is a big premise in your book as well, is communication is a love letter. What you're talking about and you are modeling for me and the listeners is a beautiful way of communicating. So I just want to add one caveat though to that is that
Seatbelts on.
yeah, seatbelt on. So the caveat is that, and I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be vulnerable and take off my mask because this is masks off. And I'm going to share, which I don't normally share about my marriage relationship, but I'm going to because there is a caveat to what you were saying, which is that I did grow and I did change and I did transform and I did do the work. But in spite of my husband, not because he held a safe space for me, because he did fight me, it helped me to grow. It kept making me push like the caterpillar trying to get out of the chrysalis. Yes, the caterpillar getting out of the chrysalis. He was the mirror of where I needed to keep growing and I needed to keep pushing up against. If I wanted to be strong from within and whole from within, every time I looked or had an interchange with him or an interaction that was difficult or hard, I had to go back inward. He kept directing me back inward. Where do I need to heal? What needs to be healed within me? And I will say that what I'm grateful for, and I have said it before, is that because he's been such an amazing provider, that I had the opportunity to be able to stay home with my kids and raise my kids, which also gave me the time and the resources to do the inner work. Had I had to work full time and me, I don't know what, maybe I still would have done the work. Maybe not. My soul came in for a reason, but I want to just like maybe say for anyone who's listening, my husband isn't going to be that safe space and he's not going to be happy about me changing and growing and allow me. So I just,
Absolutely.
and
Well, and
maybe
that's
you are
why,
saying that, but I just wanted to clarify that for the listeners.
absolutely. And that was that first conversation.
Yeah.
And that was also all that period of time with that couple.
Yes.
And not everyone does get there.
Yeah.
And some people won't. Yes, because of what your husband provided, it gave you the opportunity to really find yourself.
Yes.
And then there was a lot of resistance, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration
Yes.
with you now having a voice. And that's why early on, when you're starting to find out, oh my goodness, I'm not being honest with myself. I am abandoning myself. I am just letting you have whatever you want. If you're aware of it, then that's the time to have the conversation, because then you can say, you have helped me realize that I want to do this. And truthfully, it's very likely you're going to get a lot of shove back. Well,
Yes.
I don't want you to. I liked you the way you were. You don't need to change. You love me. Why don't you love me now? Like,
Yes.
I want you to be the same that you were. Just go back to who you were. And then internally you got to hold on to, I am not willing to.
Yes.
I'm not willing to because it's not healthy for me. And I'm glad for you that this worked so well for so many years. I'm telling you that this doesn't work for me. And if you're willing to figure out where this goes together,
I'm all in.
I'm all in. But if you have to have me not change, and here's a big piece, this is part of the compassion. I'm no longer willing to not love myself and only love you. And I do have the belief, the more I love myself, the more honestly I actually can love you. But I also know that right now there's a very good chance that you're thinking by me loving me, I am not loving you.
Yes.
That's not my truth. My truth is I am also loving me. I am not responsible for being the one who loves you completely. And I am not asking you to be the one to be responsible for loving me completely. I will love me. And I'm hoping in this process, you will really start to see how it feels differently when you love you, not largely because of me loving you.
Yes.
Just like I am learning to love myself and also you, I am hoping that you will learn to love yourself and also love me. And what I'm hearing right now is you don't want to love me. And that's really hard for me. And we're going to need to keep walking this path together to see where it goes. There are some people, I've had it in my office, where they say, I don't want to love who you are becoming.
Mm,
And I don't let that moment pass without a lot of processing.
mm.
Because if that person says, I refuse to love who you are now and who you are going to be becoming, you're done.
You're done. Exactly.
Because you can't. You even if you say, okay, I'll stay. You can't unlearn what
No.
you now have learned. So you've learned,
Right.
isn't that what life is all about? The experience of love, loving life,
Yep.
loving self, loving other. So doesn't it make beautiful sense that we choose relationships that are going to show us how to really do that? A baby comes into the world and it just is. It doesn't have the concept. It learns to love in time. And then it gets all distorted, and the baby needs the parents. So it's already a dependent love from the beginning. Isn't life about us learning how to truly love ourself, hopefully, as authentically as we can in that moment? And so we choose people who will help us with that.
Mhm.
Either help us because they're supportive and caring and compassionate or not. I remember when I stood up and got my master's, I thanked my father. I was disowned because I wasn't going to pursue the career my father wanted. So I put myself through college, got a full ride scholarship for my master's. When I stood up to thank my father, I did it on purpose because he showed up. But I said thank you, but inside I knew what I was saying. How you were and the choices you made, like I was really thanking me. I
Mhm.
chose to be
Yes.
here. Just like with your husband, you said that the fighting caused you to find yourself. But let's go a little further. You chose that. You could have crumbled. You could have stayed small, Kim, but you
Yeah.
didn't. So, yes, it's beautiful to thank the other. And at the same time, it's very important to thank yourself. I
Yeah.
felt very right in thanking my father because I knew what I was saying and I
Yes.
didn't need to press it with him. But there's the place of
Yeah.
when you have learned something with another to also realize you have allowed yourself to learn that. When we start to allow ourselves to love ourselves, you're
Mm.
not going to want to stop.
Exactly. For the listeners that are out there, that maybe at the beginning of doing the work, or they're just becoming aware, they just know something feels really shitty in their relationships and they aren't quite ready yet to have that courage to be able to start to stand up and take off the mask and choose themselves. What would you say as we round out the conversation? What could you just say or offer for someone who's just listening and still feeling so freaking scared?
Spend 5, 10, probably 5 is all you're gonna be able to do.
Yep.
5 minutes with little you
Yeah.
and just say, like, "How do I love you right now?
Mm,
What do you need right now?" And what you're gonna hear is for you to love me, to play, to feel
mm,
safe, to tell me I'm important. When you start to realize that you long ago the key for the people pleaser is we know that sweet little person inside
mm,
because that's who's running to everybody saying, "Validate me, see me, love me." So we actually
100%.
do kind of know that person, but here's the key, but we want other people to love that person. So, like, hug yourself. It's
Mm.
scary as heck. I remember I got a little journal and I'd be like, "Okay, little Heather." I'd be like, "Ah."
I know.
Sometimes I would just pick dandelions and I'd say, "Okay, blow it, make a little wish." Or I would draw.
Yep.
I hugged myself a lot. And so every single day, I just spent a little bit of time tapping into, "Let me love you."
Mm,
I'm sure I'm gonna run out into the world and ask the world to love me, but let me love you.
yep.
And I started to. And then I also started to see the places where I didn't. And for me, that resentful, angry, pissed off teenager would pop up. So I had my little girl, and then I had my resentful, frustrated teenager. And those two are great dialogues to start finding. And it's embracing all of them. That pissed
Mm,
off teenager saved me.
yep.
She saved me. She was my rebel.
Yeah.
Like, "You're not gonna tell me what to do. I'm going off to New York. I can do this on my own if you don't wanna love me." But little Heather was petrified in that. So there's a lot of integration.
Yeah. I love
Healing the Child Within was one of the first books I read. I was like, I think 19,
mm,
and I'm like, "Oh, wow. There's a lot of healing for me to do." So be
yeah.
really gentle with yourself, and some things that I think are really helpful, get a super warm blankie,
Yep.
tea, like a comfy bed, nature, all the things that a
Things.
little one would want that are soft, comforting, loving. Just give yourself a couple minutes. Don't be surprised if you cry.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if you feel overwhelmed and don't know what the hell you need. And in that moment, just say, "It's okay. I'm here." When
I
you
love what
know,
you're saying. Yeah, just starting out small. Starting
when
out
you
small.
know, tell me. But
Yeah.
but I'm not leaving. This is key.
Yes.
I'm not leaving. I'm here and I'm choosing to stay as much as I'm able to. And I want to be able to stay. I'm going to stay always. And I
Mhm.
know you don't trust me yet. And
Mm.
that's okay. I'm going to
Yep.
come through.
Yep.
I'm going to love you, little me, and I'm going to learn to love you more. And we're going to learn how to do relationship with other people. But for right now, I just want you to feel my love and my gratefulness because you're my joy. But there's the place of recognizing that you're the one who pulls the rabbit out of the hat. Hold on to your magician.
Mm. Yeah.
Hold on to that because that's you. That's your power. That's who you are. And when you let yourself own that, you want the laughs, you want the jokes, you want the love. But if the person doesn't feel like giving it, there comes a place where you say, "Darn it, shoot,
Yeah.
really wanted it with you." Okay, but my love is precious. Play with somebody else.
So how can people find you?
So probably my website's the best. It's like the hub of Heather and everything's there working with me individually, be it psychotherapy or coaching, my newsletter, my blog, my book. I have programs for couples. I have programs just in communication for individuals. So my TEDx is on there. And if listeners just have questions, feel free to reach out. There's a whole page of freebies you can pick up too. So I love hearing from listeners, and I'm always so honored just to support somebody else where they are in their journey. It's such a sacred place to be able to reach out your hand and say, you're not alone.
So thank you so much for coming on
Thank you
and
for having
sharing
me.
all of your wisdom. I love it. And I will have all that information in the show notes for sure.
Perfect. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Masks Off for People Pleasers and Perfectionists. And if you enjoyed what we talked about in this conversation, if you have comments, please leave them. We can always do a follow up if there are certain things that you want to know about. Let Dr. Heather and I know, and we can always come back. And in the meantime, we would love to have a review or a like. Until next time.